Welcome to ILTV's Memorial Day special. I'm Natasha Kirchik, and I'm so happy that you're here watching with us today. Here in Israel, Memorial Day is a deeply profound and emotional day for Israelis. It's a time to commemorate the nation's fallen soldiers and terror victims. And then it's abruptly followed by Israeli Independence Day. But this quick transition from sadness to joy is what makes it so unique to be here on the ground during this time. And today, even though Independence Day has just begun in the Holy Land, we're going to be focusing on Memorial Day. And then tomorrow, we can all celebrate together during our Independence Day special. So on that note, coming up in today's newscast, Memorial Day ceremonies are held across the country while Israelis watch from home isolation. A memorial camp in the desert provides a haven for Israeli youth, and a unique program looks to bridge the gap between bereaved Israelis and Palestinians alike. Well, Israelis across the country have spent the day commemorating the nation's fallen soldiers and terror victims, but this year's Israeli Memorial Day is nothing like what Israel is used to as the country fights off the coronavirus pandemic. Every year, Memorial Day begins with a minute-long air raid siren, and Israelis bow their heads in silence across the country to mark the start of the Remembrance Day. And typically, Israel's official Memorial Day ceremony is held at the Western Wall in Jerusalem's Old City. But this year, there's no audience, so the bizarre circumstances have made for some shocking imagery, with soldiers wearing protective masks as they stand at least 2 meters away from one another in the empty plaza. And Israeli President Reuven is clearly disturbed by the situation.
השנה אתם לבד בחדרים, מקשיבים להדי קולם. איננו יכולים להגיע אל בתיכם, איננו יכולים לעמוד לצדכם בחלקות הצבאיות. איננו יכולים לחבק אתכם, לאמץ אתכם לליבנו.
Now, today, police are being deployed in force to block public access to military cemeteries. Bereaved families are also being advised to stay at home this Memorial Day to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. And even Israel's Mount Herzl Military Cemetery is blocked off.
It's sad. It's amazingly sad to see the mountain empty. It's so beautiful here, all the gardening. It's amazing. Usually there are thousands of people going, and you go with the flow of people. And today you come and you hear the birds. Almost nobody's here.
Officials say that police will not physically restrain those who try to reach cemeteries, but will continue to urge them not to do so. Some have opted for visiting their loved ones prior to Memorial Day itself to avoid any controversy.
המציאות המטורפת שנכפתה לא רק על מדינת ישראל אלא על העולם כולו. אנחנו היום בפורום מצומצם בגלל הקורונה. באנו לכאן להתייחד איתך. באנו לכאן להיות איתך. הקדמנו ביומיים בשל האור.
Small Israeli flags, each with a black ribbon, have been placed by IDF soldiers on every military grave in the country. And today at 11 a.m., a second 2-minute-long siren was held prior to the main memorial ceremony at the Mount Herzl Military Cemetery in Jerusalem, which has concluded with a brief flyover by IAF jets. Since last Memorial Day, 42 soldiers and civilians have been killed, and the number of Israeli casualties of war stands at 23,816, according to the Defense Ministry. The figures include all soldiers and police who died during their service over the past year, including as a result of suicide, illness, or accident. Well, even though Memorial Day should be one in which we try to learn from destruction, this afternoon has seen yet another terror attack in the state of Israel. A 62-year-old Israeli woman has been stabbed in the central Israeli town of Kfar Saba. According to police, a Palestinian teenager from the West Bank attacked the woman outside the G Mall. And the 19-year-old suspect, believed to be from the Palestinian city of Tulkarem, was shot down by an armed civilian who happened to be driving by. As for the victim, she's in moderate to serious condition after receiving treatment on the ground and before being taken to Kfar Saba's Meir Medical Center. Officers are now investigating the stabbing and are trying to figure out how the teen attacker entered Israel from the West Bank. Now, in other news, as Israelis commemorate lives lost on the battlefield, the country is still in the midst of fighting another major war. Another 2 people have succumbed to the coronavirus pandemic, bringing the national death toll to 208 and counting. ILTV's Aaron Porras has more.
Over 15,585 Israelis have now been diagnosed with COVID-19, and that's 112 new cases in the last 24 hours, which is continuing a downward trend in the daily rate of infections. Of those sick, 126 have serious symptoms, and 94 are on ventilators. So far, more than 7,300 Israelis have recovered, though, almost 500 in just the past day. And given the improving infection rate, Israel has begun to ease lockdown restrictions, and many stores and businesses have been allowed to resume operations as of yesterday. The cabinet has also just approved a plan that could see a gradual reopening of schools starting as soon as next week. The Israeli Prime Minister is now discussing whether or not to allow open-air markets to start functioning again as well, following protests from desperate local business owners. And as of Thursday, unemployment in Israel is at just over 27%, with more than 1.1 million people out of work. Nonetheless, Israel will be looking at a full lockdown for Independence Day, which starts this evening.
Now, one of the best-known hero stories in Israeli history is the story of Major Roy Klein. Klein was an IDF officer in the Battle of Bin Jubel in the Second Lebanon War in 2006, and he was tragically killed after leaping onto a grenade to save his fellow soldiers. Well, Roy's friend, Lieutenant Colonel and former Knesset member Yoni Shetbon, joins us on Skype to share Klein's story. So first, tell us about this battle.
Yeah, in 2006, during the Second Lebanon War, our mission, the mission of the Golani Brigade, was to attack a small town in the south of Lebanon, Bin Jubel. During this battle, there was a fire from everywhere. Grenade fell very close to us. And there was a moment that my commander and my friend, Major Roy Klein, noticed that there is a grenade who fell in the center of a group of soldiers. He shouted, Shema Israel, and jumped on the grenade to save his soldiers. Many people don't know, but Roy Klein, Major Roy Klein, didn't die immediately. In his last moments of life, he took the military radio and reported in Hebrew, Klein met, Klein met. Klein is going to die, Klein is going to die. I was about half a kilometer from there, and I heard this report. I took a group of soldiers, and I arrived to this area, to this battlefield. Unfortunately, when I arrived, he was already dead, and I had the right to take his body from the battlefield and replace him with another soldier, another officer in this battle.
Now, your division had soldiers from many, many different backgrounds. What did Roy tell you about the need for unity, within the unit?
Yeah, it's very important. There, in the olive grove in Bin Jubel, in Lebanon, actually, I met with all the variety of the Israeli society. Close to Roy Klein, there were other soldiers who were killed. Shimon Dahan from Ashdod, where his parents came from Mehmed Aliyah from Morocco. Idan Cohen from Tel Aviv. Shimon Adeje from Ethiopia. Lone soldier Asin Amer from Australia. All the Israeli society was there. And there, we, the soldiers, the commanders who were there, we understood what is the meaning of the term unity, to be united. And now in Israel, there was a period of election, and we saw in the media, social media, that everyone is attacking everyone. But actually, we know that it's not the reality is not like that. We, the soldiers, will see the death in our eyes. We know that we can live together, Baruch Hashem, in the streets, In Israel, everyone can work together, and from there, from Binge Bell, we understood the meaning of to be united.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us and telling Roy's story and your story. Again, you know, Yom HaZikaron, Memorial Day here in Israel, is really a day for us to think about our past and think how we can move forward in a more positive and united way, which is clearly what Roy Klein's message was. Again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Natasha.
All right. Now, 2 years ago, I had the special opportunity to head down south to a special camp in the desert called the Nitzan nonprofit organization, which aims to help future generations of Israeli youth. But this camp was started by the families and friends of 2 fallen soldiers as a way to memorialize them and live out their dreams. Well, back then, it was just in its beginning stages, but today it's in a totally different place, and we're going to have the chance to follow up. But first, let's take a look back at this touching story, and it's one that's very close to my heart personally because it involves a personal connection. Fallen soldier Yuval Dagan, who happens to be the son of one of my father's closest army buddies.
יובל שירת באגוז, התחיל מבצע צוק איתן. שלחו אותם פתאום יום אחד לחופשת התרעננות הביתה. בבוקר ליוויתי אותו לתחנת הרכבת. לפני שהוא ירד לרכבת אמרתי לו, יובי, אל תהיה גיבור. תהיה גיבור של אמא ותחזור הביתה. וככה שנייה אחרי שאני אומרת את המשפט הזה, אני חושבת לעצמי, למה אמרתי את זה בכלל? שבועיים אחרי זה, הגיעו להודיע לנו שהוא נפל בסג'איה.
On July 21st, 2014, 7 IDF soldiers were killed in the Gaza Strip during clashes with Hamas. Staff Sergeant Yuvi Dagan was one of the victims, a 22-year-old combat soldier in the Golani Brigade. His unit was caught in the middle of a fatal exchange of fire during the 2014 Gaza war.
יובי הילד נורא מצחיק. חיוך. באותו יום הוא אמר לי, אל תדאגי, אמא לי, הכל בסדר. כאילו אנחנו נלך, נעשה מה שצריך ואני אחזור. כל החלומות שהיו לו והתוכניות שהיו לו לעתיד, הם נגדעו ביום אחד.
Before he was drafted into the army, Yuvi did a year of voluntary service at a camp for troubled youth in southern Israel. It was there with his new friends that he was inspired to find a way to give back in the future.
הם רקמו ביחד את החלום שיום אחד כשהם יהיו גדולים, הם יקימו כפר נוער חקלאי בדרום.
That was a dream that Yuvi's friends never forgot about, especially after he was killed. In 2015, his army buddy Yonatan Kam began putting together a plan to open up a rehabilitation center for troubled youth in the desert. And then Yonatan received a shocking phone call. Another member of his army unit had been hurt in a devastating earthquake, 22-year-old Or Asraf.
אחרי שצוק איתן כולם טסו לחול טיפה לנקות את הראש ולחשוב, והוא נפצע מאוד מאוד קשה, הוא עשה שם שיקום והוא טס לחול והוא הרגיש שהוא צריך עוד קצת זמן. קיבלנו את הטלפון שאור נהדר. ישראלי אחד מתוך 2,000 שנמצא בנפאל ואף אחד לא מוצא אותו.
ואתה לך בשלום ותנוח ותעמוד לגורלך לקץ הימים.
לפחות הוא לא נהרג במלחמה. הוא נהרג במקום הכי יפה בעולם, באמת המקום הכי יפה בעולם. כשהוא רגוע, כשהוא לא מפחד, ולפחות זה.
It was clear from the get-go that Or would also become part of the project to build a youth camp. He too imagined a similar future for himself.
מה שנמצא עכשיו זה הכל גידולי חורף, זה קייל, כרובית, שומר, קולורבי.
This is Nitzan MPO, an agricultural youth farm in the middle of the desert. It's essentially a rehab center where troubled teenagers receive therapy through agricultural work and life in the wild.
כרגע אנחנו נמצאים בעבודה עם 2 נערים, בשאיפה בקצה להגיע עד 8 נערים. אנחנו רוצים לעבוד במרחב אקולוגי מקיים, בעצם להיות משק אוטרקי. יש לנו בחווה משק חי, 2 סוסים, בערך 10 תרנגולות שנותנות לנו ביצים.
The camp is just in its very beginning. In fact, they're still constructing their very first building, all by hand. But Yonatan says the work is therapeutic in of itself.
נער שהגיע לפה בתחילת תהליך התבטא במילה אחת, טוב, כן, לא. אחרי תאריך של חודשיים שאנחנו מדברים בעיקר רגע על הסתכלות פנימה, על שיח רגשי, אנחנו רואים שהוא כבר מסוגל להביע את עצמו, שבעינינו לפחות זה איזשהו שינוי אדיר שמתקיים.
כשיובי בא לפה לעשות שנת שירות, שאלו אותו מה היית רוצה שיקרה בשנה כזאת. הוא כתב שהוא היה רוצה להיות משמעותי עבור ילד אחד לפחות. ואני לקחתי את המשפט הזה ואמרתי לעצמי שאם בחווה הזאת ילד אחד יעבור שם איזשהו תהליך, אז כבר הגשמתי איזשהו חלום שלו. לא קל, אבל זה ממשיך דרך. זה ממשיך דרך.
Well, joining us now is Yonatan Kam, director of the Nitzan MPO. It's so exciting to see you after so long. Since we last spoke, how's the project going? How has it changed or developed in the past 2 years?
אני חושב למעשה כמעט בכל האספקטים, מהמקום של ליווי והיכולת שלנו לייצר תשתית מספקת עד ליכולת לדייק את המענים ברמה הטיפולית, ובסוף אולי באספקט הכי חשוב, יותר נערים עברו בחווה כחלק מתהליך טיפולי, שזו הסיבה שבכלל יצאנו לדרך.
Now, how many kids are currently in your community right now?
אז המסגרת שלנו בעצם נותנת מענה לעד 8 נערים בזמן נתון, בשאיפה לכ-40 נערים באופן שנתי. נכון לכרגע יש 5 נערים בחווה במסגרת כזאת או אחרת, שבה כל אחד נמצא בשלב אחר, והשאיפה היא שבשלב הזה כל 5 יחסית בהקדם יחזרו למסגרות להמשך תהליך ולקלוט נערים נוספים.
So what do you feel today on Memorial Day? Do you think about Yuval and Or a lot?
בסוף ברור לכולם שיום קצת יותר רגיש וקצת יותר מורכב. אני חייב להגיד בכנות שבעיניי הנצחה זה דבר פרטי, עבורי. והסוגיה ההנצחתית זה לא לתלות איזה שלט בחווה או לשים פסל, אלא הדבר או הצורה בעיניי הייחודית להנציח את יובי זה שנער ממוצא אתיופי מגיע בהתנגדות גדולה, ואחרי פרק זמן מסוים אנחנו רואים אותו משתף, מתקדם.
Well, you guys do amazing work, and again, thanks for joining us today. It's so exciting to see how far you've come. All right, now many Jews from around the world immigrate to Israel specifically to serve in the Israeli army. They're called lone soldiers because they leave their families and their homes behind to join the IDF. Well, Mikey Levine is one of these brave young people who took the leap, and he left the U.S. for Israel, but tragically he was killed during his military service at just 21 years old. One of his dreams was to set up a center for lone soldiers just like him, where they could receive meals, help, and of course advice during their military service. Well, his dream has come true, and joining us now on Skype is one of the guides at the Mikey Levine Center, Jacob Bronstein. So you were also a lone soldier yourself. Why was serving in the IDF so important to you?
First of all, hi. Serving in the IDF is serving our homeland as Jewish people. I felt it was my duty to do, so I felt that I did the right thing for my people, and I'm happy that I did it.
Well, serving in the IDF, you arrived at the Mikey Levine Center. What did you feel when you arrived?
Definitely a sense of community. As people that come to Israel and don't have an external family or a support system here, the Lone Soldier Center definitely gave us a family to live with, and just a sense of community that really lacks for lone soldiers.
What do lone soldiers get there? What type of services?
So I personally lived in a building of lone soldiers where I met other people like me. They provide different meals and just an overall family for lone soldiers.
Now, after completing your military service, you joined the center to manage one of the groups designed to prepare young people for the IDF. Why do you think it's important to strengthen these people long before they even join the army?
So I run a program called Prevalent Mikey, which is named after Michael Levine, who had the dream of the Lone Soldier Center. And our group is a pre-army preparation program for lone soldiers that are coming to Israel and are drafting. Generally, lone soldiers are looked at as being disadvantaged when they draft because they don't have Hebrew, maybe their fitness isn't as good as others. So what we do is we really try to prepare these soldiers and give them an advantage while they draft instead of them drafting with a disadvantage.
And not all of these soldiers actually come from abroad, right? Many are born here in Israel.
True. So lone soldiers are also those that come from outside of Israel without a family, and they're also lone soldiers from Israel, those that don't have the support of their families here in Israel for a variety of reasons. And the Lone Soldier Center provides support for the both of them for over 1,000 lone soldiers every year. It's a wonderful, wonderful place.
Well, it's also important for soldiers who are coming from abroad to get to know these young Israelis as well. So I understand that you actually held a virtual memorial service yesterday for soldiers who died during their military service. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
So last night, the center held a virtual Memorial Day ceremony. It was a very moving ceremony where we heard the stories of lone soldiers that fell during their duty. And we also heard from their families, their friends, about their personal lives, not just who they were as soldiers, but also who they were as human beings. And it's important to know these stories and to remember them and to keep their memories going.
Well, I mean, you're so brave to take that leap of faith to come here to Israel to serve in the military. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you have a wonderful day, despite what we're commemorating and a great Independence Day.
Thank you. If anyone wants more information on the Lone Soldier Center, they can look us up at lonesoldiercenter.com.
Wonderful. All right. Now, on Israel's annual Memorial Day, victims of terror are given a special spotlight at massive events alongside soldiers who have fallen in the field. But there's one controversial annual event that looks to shed light on victims from both sides of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. ILTV's Nittany Manson has the details.
כולנו מתמודדים עם איום משותף, כזה שלא מבדיל בין עם לעם, בין דם לדם, כזה שמחייב סולידריות ודאגה לכל אדם באשר הוא אדם.
On the surface, it looks like any other ceremony for Yom HaZikaron, or Israeli Memorial Day. There are musical performances and speakers who talk about who they've lost in the conflict. And this year, because of the coronavirus, it was also live streamed with very few people actually in attendance. But this Memorial Day ceremony is very different to others around the nation because it features voices from the Palestinians.
في الساعة 10:30 ليلاً بينما كنا في الطريق عودتنا إلى البيت مع ابنتنا الصغيرة راما، وفجأة قام قطعان المستوطنين بالهجوم علينا ورشقنا بالحجارة. إحدى الحجارة اخترقت الزجاج الأمامي للسيارة وارتطم بوجه عائشة زوجتي بوجهها الجميل.
Organized by the Parents Circle Families Forum and the Combatants for Peace organization, the Israeli-Palestinian Joint Memorial Day ceremony is hosted this year and a Palestinian MC in Arabic from Ramallah. And bereaved guest speakers include 2 Israelis and 2 Palestinians, all of whom have lost family members to the conflict. And in spite of coronavirus restrictions, at least 200,000 people still tuned in to watch the program live. But the event is not without conflict. Every year, thousands of Israelis protest the memorial for seemingly equivocating between victims of terror and their attackers. Even Prime Minister Netanyahu has tried to kill the event by attempting to block entry to Palestinian participants, citing security concerns. And it's true that many of the Palestinian victims mentioned at the ceremony died in clashes with Israeli forces. But still, the event has been held every year since its founding in 2006, and supporters say it gives them a chance to give meaning to the deaths of their loved ones as they turn their backs on violence.
Very interesting. All right, on that note, let's take a look at the weather forecast. Today is mostly sunny in Tel Aviv with a high of 24 degrees Celsius or 75 Fahrenheit. Tomorrow should be a bit cooler with a high of 22 Celsius or 72 Fahrenheit and partly cloudy skies. So if you're planning on that annual Independence Day barbecue on your private patio or balcony, of course, and make sure to wear some sunscreen. All right, that is it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.5 shekels to the American dollar. For more news from ILTV, please like ILTV on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube and Roku TV pages. I'm Natasha Kirchak, and thanks for watching.